All right, let's discuss now by Chief Economist at Alexander Forbes Investments, Lesiba Mothata. Thank you for being with us. We're moving things around there. Yeah, we're in place for an interview. What are you expecting tonight?
It's Standard & Poor's downgrade. Moody's could think about it and wait and see what happens in SA. But I think it will get a downgrade from Standard & Poor's.
So this is important because Standard & Poor's already has us in junk status on the right. Sovereign rating. So you're talking about the local currency rating.
Which is 90% of debt that's been issued. And in there...
So the worst is
that
expected.
Which we feared will happen, will happen.
Sure.
And there will be a recalibration of how bond investors look at indices like the City Week B. If we don't get a Moody's downgrade and we get a Standard & Poor's downgrade, it gives us time within that index. But investors will quickly readjust and say, you're as good as out. Yeah. And behave accordingly.
Well, explain the rules, because the whole point is that we borrow by issuing bonds, and these bonds are on these big bond platforms around the world. If Standard & Poor's downgrades our local currency rating, then two are already on junk. Aren't we off a lot of the bonds?
I appreciate that. But Fitch does not count. They don't look at Fitch in that index.
So we will then wait for Moody's.
We wait for Moody's. Barclays does, JP Morgan indices does, but Citigroup does not look at Fitch. So we're only looking at Standard & Poor's and Moody's. And if that were to happen, there'll be some outflows that ensues from here. But our work shows that not every investor is replicating the index. For South Africa, it will be 0.5, less than 0.5 of the total index. So not everyone is holding it according to that. They are more speculative in nature. And they could actually think that there's value in SA when things go pear-shaped in this way. When yields go up, they could provide value.
So you're saying they're basically ignoring what the rating agencies are saying, which means we may not see the fallout that's expected.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The fallout that is happening, I don't think will be catastrophic. We are less fretful of what's happening because in SA, there's deep financial markets that assimilate this information and price it in. Already this is priced. It will prove negative, however, in the short term. There'll be a sell-off in the Rand. There'll be a sell-off in bonds. Bank shares will decline. But in all that movement, they're creating value for investors to come back and buy. Think about this. Argentina issues a 30-year bond, oversubscribed. Argentina. Remember, they're even less, they're worse in terms of ratings, deeper into junk, not even in the middle, right there at the bottom, and yet they could be issuing debt in that way. There's a strong demand for emerging market debt, and I don't think they will walk away from SA that easily.
Okay, so I like what you're saying, that we're going to be cushioned from the blow even if the worst happens tonight. Are you disregarding everybody who's saying that maybe there'll be a big reaction in the Rand, 50 cents at least?
Well, that can happen.
But that'll just be a knee-jerk.
But it could be short-lived, you know. Remember, a country with strong institutions, with a central bank so in tune with things, as we've seen yesterday, already repriced and are talking about a tightening cycle of monetary policy in anticipation of what could happen. That's the agility of an institutional structure that there is in SA. You can't ignore a country like that. And you keep investing in it, even when it has its own issues, the way it does that.
And you're more positive than our own Reserve Bank, which today was talking about the fiscal path we're on leading to more downgrades, possibly.
No. So we got to separate issues. Is this a catastrophic outcome? The answer is no.
Okay.
Is it a negative outcome? The answer is yes. Are the fiscal trajectories acceptable? Not at all. In fact, in my own analysis, the budget that was put out is not welcome because it's a vast difference from where we come, and it ought to be revised. So we talk about a February budget with a new political input, etc. It needs to be rethought. That which we have now cannot be sustained.
Everybody talks about fiscal consolidation. What we're talking about is commitment to getting our debt down. And Malusi Gigaba seemed to be saying some of the right things. He was trying to follow in the path of sustainable, conservative fiscal policy, but it wasn't good enough, was it?
Well, where's that important? they can instill some confidence. But deeds are a lot more critical.
Yeah. And he couldn't hide the figures.
It came short in the deeds, in the budget. While they had the control, I mean, all what is happening here is self-induced. This country should be growing at 3-4% GDP. All these things are self-induced, mainly political, and we need a political resolve to end it.
So finally, just summarize what you're saying. So we will see some sort of reaction tonight if S&P downgrades us, but not the major outflows, and some of the outflows could even be deferred till next year.
Indeed. So there's a fallen angel in this analysis. A country can fall from grace, and investors can look at it and say, well, there could be opportunities here. Increasingly, when you look at the SA context, yes, there'll be a sell-off. The Rand must sell. However, it opens out value. How do you walk away from South African bonds when there could be an interesting resolve in December? In fact, you can even get a whole renewed reform construct. In that, you don't walk away from a country like that.
So it would be wise to stick with us.
I think so. When bonds go up, you know, as the yields become, say, 10 and 10.5, it's a screaming buy. You buy, you go. Buy, isn't it?
Finally, because I think I can squeeze in one more minute. What does the ANC elective conference mean? Because you're saying it's all about politics, so it's all about the next leader that the party chooses.
Everything. It means everything. I'm dismayed that we continue to allow ourselves to slip as we are, self-induced. What's required is a collective thinking that makes sense within the ANC. Stop the bleeding, put the right leader, and see what happens. Once that happens, everything reverses. The Rand could be 9. Markets could go up. GDP could begin to be 2.5. That's required. We can't just keep killing ourselves.
Yeah, thank you so much for your analysis. Ahead of tonight, possibly when the American markets close, we will get those statements, the scheduled announcements, possible rating changes, nothing definite, but we are expecting to hear from S&P and Moody's. And that was Lesiba Mothata from Alexander Forbes Investments.